Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. For 3 weeks, the Rajya Sabha has been disrupted, and although the Lok Sabha has functioned for the last 4 days, it's done so without the opposition. And next week, when Congress returns to the lower house, there's little likelihood Parliament will function effectively. Indeed, it now seems certain that the full monsoon session will be a washout. But has this served any greater purpose, or is this just partisan politics at the cost of the nation's interests? As disillusionment turns to despair, we present a Congress versus BJP debate on the parliamentary standoff that has deeply dismayed the nation. I'm now joined by Congress Rajya Sabha MP and former Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh Digvijay Singh and BJP Rajya Sabha MP and Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar. Digvijay Singh, your party has disrupted the entire monsoon session up till now, and after the suspensions, in addition, you've boycotted the Lok Sabha. What have you achieved by this behavior?
Well, if you see the performance of BJP during the UPA regime, once for 22 continuous days, another time for continuous 11 days, they disrupted the parliament on the issue of FDI and multi-brand retail, which they had proposed initially when the NDA government was there, and later on they backtracked. Now, I will also give you some of the, I would say, the statements made by Mr. Arun Jaitley. He said,
I'll give you the statements, right? It was January the 31st, 2011. He said, obstructionism is a legitimate parliamentary tactic. But are you saying to me that the raison d'etre for your behavior is revenge? Is this tit for tat? Because they did it to you, you're going to do it to them?
It's certainly not revenge, but you know, when the whole parliament and the BJP is not prepared to even answer our specific requests that did Sushma Swaraj act according to the rules of business of Government of India. Number two, we asked whether she violated the protocol of calling up the British High Commissioner directly.
What? Forgive me. There is no protocol involved in calling up the British High Commissioner directly. A foreign minister can do that when she wants. There's no protocol involved.
No. The protocol is that the foreign secretary can only call up these British High Commissioners.
I don't know where you're making that up from, but I have never heard of such a protocol. But let me put your first point to Prakash Javadekar. I'll then come back to Sushma Swaraj. Let me put your first point to Prakash Javadekar. The point being made, Mr. Javadekar, is that both the precedent as well as the justification for what Congress is doing was established by Arun Jaitley in 2011 when he famously said, obstructionism is a legitimate parliamentary tactic. And as Sonia Gandhi said just a couple of days earlier, the BJP used the resign now, debate later stand at least 5 times on different occasions during the UPA period. So what's happening today is that you're being paid back in your own coin. You can hardly complain.
No, this is absolute distortion by Congress. The issue is very simple. That they decided first that they will wash out, they will not allow this session to go on, and it will be a complete washout. That was their first declaration before the parliament. So they were not waiting for our response or anything. They have decided because they are against progress of the country. They don't want GST to be passed, and though it is their bill, they don't want it to be passed because it gives credit to the government, which they are now. And they are absolutely not come out of their defeat, and they are not doing only tit for tat, but they are doing worse to democracy. Even Naga's accord, now they are saying that, oh, we were not asked. The Arunachal Chief Minister tweeted himself congratulating Prime Minister.
Let's not get onto the Naga accord. Let's stick to the standoff in Parliament so that we have a focus. Let me bring you in at this point, Digvijay Singh. You raised the issue of Sushma Swaraj, which is, of course, the key reason why you're disrupting Parliament. Many people believe that the Congress party position that there cannot be debate unless ministers first resign is tantamount to pronouncing guilt before you hold a trial. This is how lynch mobs behave, not how 21st century justice is done. How do you answer that key concern? That this is tantamount to presuming she's guilty before you give her a chance to explain.
But didn't they also act the same way in case of A. Raja, in case of Ashwini Kumar and other Congress leaders? They acted the same way. And let me also quote Mr. L.K. Advani, who said sometimes blocking legislative action yields results. The other thing which I want to point out is the talk of development, progress. One second.
Why are you following their policies, their precedents, when you disagree with them so fundamentally?
Well, I would like to point out to Mr. Javadekar that when you talk of progress and development, your finance minister has said, why is Congress party opposing the GST bill? It is almost the same as 2006-2007, which Congress party introduced.
Stick for now to Sushma Swaraj.
Why Mr. Arun Jaitley? Why Mr.
In a moment's time. Stick to Sushma.
Has not replied to the issue. That why did they wait for 8 years to bring in the GST bill? They could have supported, they could have passed the GST
I think
bill in
it's essential
2006-2007.
we stick to one issue at a time.
We are not against development. We are not against
I'll come
progress.
to GST in a moment's time, but let's stick to Sushma. We'll come to GST after that. After all, it's over Sushma that you're holding up Parliament, not over GST. Explain to me, why do you believe it's essential she must resign before a debate when many people who are not even politicians turn around and say this is tantamount to presuming guilt before you have a trial? Answer that key concern.
You see, the point is, even her statement yesterday completely missed the point. The point is, did she not violate the rules of business of Government of India as prescribed? Did she take the Foreign Office into confidence in her office in External Affairs Ministry? Where is that file which prompted her to write an email to the British authorities?
She denies writing emails.
On humanitarian grounds.
She denies writing emails.
But she accepted the fact. She said, I have done it on humanitarian grounds.
No, not writing
She has not denied the email. She has denied that there is no authentic letter. Of course, there is no authentic letter. That is our grouse. That is our complaint. That she has not followed the established rules of business of government.
Let's bring in Mr. Javadekar on that point. Mr. Javadekar, what you're hearing from Mr. Digvijay Singh is that there is a certain way these things are done. The Foreign Secretary should have been consulted, a file should have been opened, a certain set of procedures should have been followed. Mr. Digvijay Singh is also saying that, in fact, the rules of business were not observed. How do you respond to that set of first concerns from Congress?
After yesterday's clarification by Sushma, actually Congress should apologize, nation and Sushma ji also, for wasting so much public money and time and disrupting the Parliament. Because she has made it very clear. What was the Congress charge? Congress charge was that she helped a criminal. First, Congress allowed him to run away from the country. But that's another thing.
Can I point out, you can't call him a criminal because even now he doesn't face charges, except very recently. So how do you call him a criminal?
I am coming to that. That is what I say. So they are saying when he is not proclaimed offender, but that's another issue. The issue is, she said it very clearly, I have not recommended that they should give passport to him or give travel documents, because his wife is also her friend and she was in cancer and last stage and a very difficult operation. She said on humanitarian ground, I only said when it was asked whether Indo-British relations will be spoiled. She said if your rules permit, you take your call. but these are not the issues on British and Indian relations will be spoiled.
You're getting it slightly wrong, Mr. Javadekar. I want to clarify before I go back to Mr. Digvijay Singh. First of all, she wasn't asked. She suo moto telephoned the British High Commissioner herself. So she intervened where she wasn't actually asked by the British to do so.
But secondly, she has not said that give him travel documents.
She didn't stop at saying if your rules permit. She actually removed an obstacle Mr. Chidambaram had put, as a result of which he wasn't getting a British travel document. Congress says that's tantamount to a recommendation and impropriety.
So she is completely, no, let me tell again, Karan, she is completely not done any impropriety, nothing of the sort. Congress must apologize, nation and Sushma ji. And the way now today, mother and the son have spoken about Sushma, that shows the level of Congress.
I'll come to that in a moment's time. I'll come to what they said today in a moment's time. But first, let me put your core point to Mr. Digvijay Singh. Mr. Digvijay Singh, yesterday when Mrs. Swaraj made her statement in the Lok Sabha, she very clearly explained that she had only told the British High Commissioner there would be no adverse impact on Indo-British relations if Lalit Modi was granted a British travel document, A, because Modi's wife was seriously and dangerously ill, and B, because the treatment she needed in Portugal would itself further endanger her life. Therefore, Mrs. Swaraj acted to help a woman who was facing potential death. Why is that not a sufficient explanation?
You are again missing the point, Karan. As a foreign minister of Government of India, there is a certain rules of business which the Government of India, ministers and officers have to practice. Now, if she wanted to help, she would have taken up representation from Lalit Modi or Mrs. Lalit Modi, had it processed through the External Affairs Ministry. Also because Mr. Lalit Modi was on a blue corner notice. He was being investigated by Enforcement Directorate. The Foreign Affairs Ministry should have consulted the Finance Ministry and the Enforcement Directorate before making that recommendation. That recommendation should have been done through a file, through an adopted procedure. The point that I'm going to make is that by doing that, she has violated the established rules of business. She's gone against the oath of office that she has taken. That is our complaint.
Mr. Javadekar, let me draw to your attention two key points made repeatedly by Congress. First, if on humanitarian grounds Lalit Modi needed to be given travel documents, why did Mrs. Swaraj not authorize the Indian High Commission in London to give him a limited duration passport for one trip to Portugal and back? Why suggest or facilitate British documents instead? And secondly, why did Mrs. Swaraj not add the specific condition that this was only being done if he then agreed afterwards to come to India and answer questions from the Enforcement Directorate? Both of those she could have done, but she did neither. Why?
No, let me be very clear. I completely deny Digvijay Singh's accusation that she has violated rules of business of government. No. The firm answer is no. There is no rule says that every time you have to move only file. And it is a communication, and which was done, as she rightly said, that to help a woman in distress. Not
there are many other ways that woman in distress could have been helped. One of which, as I'm saying, is grant a limited duration Indian passport for just one trip. Why was that step not taken?
Or by wasting 2 weeks of Parliament, by holding Parliament to ransom. That is what they have done. They must apologize, nation, now. Because they decided first that we will not allow any work to be done throughout the session. And let me again tell Congress friend that this is absolutely wrong. When one session was lost was winter session when we were in opposition. And it was because of Congress again.
Well, just a moment. Before we start diverting to the winter session of 2011, let's clarify on Sushma Swaraj first, which is, as I keep saying, the key reason why this session is being held up. Mr. Digvijay Singh, I want to come to what happened today. Outside Parliament, Rahul Gandhi, your Vice President, accused Sushma Swaraj's husband and daughter of receiving money from Lalit Modi. His exact words were, and I'm quoting, how much money has Lalit Modi paid her family to keep himself out of jail? Now, the key question I want to ask you is this. Was Rahul Gandhi referring to legal fees which were paid to Sushma Swaraj's husband or daughter as Modi's lawyers, or was he suggesting they've taken bribes or under-the-table payment? You have to clarify this, because the insinuation is so serious, the country wants to know, what did Rahul Gandhi mean?
Now, 2-3 things about Lalit Modi. Number one, there was an enforcement directorate investigation going on the black money trail in case of Mr. Lalit Modi. This is one. Then recently, yesterday or day before yesterday, warrant has been issued against him. And there are criminal liabilities in that. Then also there was on ABP News, one of Chota Shakil said we wanted 1,000 crores from Mr. Lalit Modi, and that was the time his life was in danger. But now he's all right, we have settled it. Now, these are the things which are there in the public domain.
No, but
and here the Foreign Affairs Minister just writes an email that he may be allowed to travel.
No, but the question I'm asking is, when Rahul Gandhi says he wants to know how much money Lalit Modi paid Sushma Swaraj's husband and daughter, is he talking about legitimate legal fees that they received as a lawyer, or is he suggesting bribes and underhand payments? You have to clarify that. You can't evade it.
No, the clarification has to come from Mrs. Sushma Swaraj or Lalit Modi, not from Mr.
Clarification surely should come from Rahul Gandhi, who made the statement.
No, we have made an allegation.
Already social media.
What are you alleging? Are you alleging bribery?
We want to know how much money Mrs. Sushma Swaraj or her family has received from Lalit Modi, that's all.
No, hang on a moment. If the money was legitimately and rightfully received, you have no right to know how much was received. But if it wasn't rightfully received and is therefore suggested to be bribery, it becomes a different matter. So I come back to my question. Are you talking about legal fees that are legitimate or bribery?
Well, that is something which Mr. Rahul Gandhi can answer, because he has said that we want to know how much money Sushma Swaraj's family has been given by Mr. Lalit Modi. That's a very legitimate question.
No, it's not. If it's legally received, legitimately received money, Rahul Gandhi has no right to ask. Leave aside, find out.
No, why not? Why not? Why not? She should say so. She's a public figure.
All right, let's come to Prakash Javadekar.
She's gone out of her way. She has gone out of her way to help them.
Well, let's come to Prakash Javadekar. First of all, Mr. Javadekar, how do you respond to that very cleverly or very deliberately, dubiously worded statement, take your choice of adjective, where Rahul Gandhi could be implying that Mrs. Swaraj or her husband or her daughter have accepted bribes or some other form of underhand money? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, and I am seeing your headline on your screen also, that he said it's thief. If he's thief, and if this is the level on which Congress has stooped so low, this dialogue will be means Congress will be paid back in the same coin, and already social media has started doing it. If you are calling Sushma ji thief, or charging her of bribery, or charging of her accepting money, this is absolutely not only ridiculous, condemnable. If then people will raise question about all the resources and all the expenditures you are doing. But the issue is very simple. This is absolutely undone. You must apologize, because in politics there is a sense of decency. You have crossed all limits of decency today.
Before I go back to Mr. Digvijay Singh, Mr. Javadekar, I want to ask you one question.
Son says that they have taken money,
do you believe,
and he wants to know how much money has been paid. What you are talking? Silly.
But that's the question I want to ask you. Do you believe Rahul Gandhi has Mr. Javadekar, listen to me. Do you believe, as Mr. Digvijay Singh was arguing, that Rahul Gandhi has a legitimate right to ask that question and receive the information how much money Sushma Swaraj's husband and daughter received from Lalit Modi? Or do you believe that behind use of clever language, Rahul Gandhi is alleging that they have accepted bribes or underhand money? Which do you interpret this to be? Tell me that, Mr. Javadekar.
No. all the advocates appearing for various clients receive their fees. And if there are so many lawyers in Congress, and today Sahara Shri is being represented by Kapil Sibal, so every time now you are going to ask fees of advocates. If this is the level of Congress they have reached, that shows their desperation.
Okay.
The issue is very simple. They are charging, they are doing baseless allegations, and they are doing worst kind of politics India has ever witnessed.
Right,
and people have already defeated them.
I see Mr. Digvijay Singh's hand going up. I want to have one more round of questions on Sushma Swaraj before I move on to other issues connected with the standoff. Very quickly, Mr. Digvijay Singh, what you're being accused of is lowering the decency of Parliament, indulging in innuendo and slander, and deliberately spoiling the atmosphere and therefore ensuring Parliament won't function. Is that your intention by this, to ensure there won't be any Parliament functioning even next week?
May I ask through you, Karan, to Mr. Javadekar, what kind of words have been used against Mr. Robert Vadra? In what dirty language Mr. Robert Vadra has been addressed to by the BJP and his social media friends, the paid social media, the gang of Mr. Narendra Modi, the trolls that he is instigating. The fact remains, if you make some allegation, which they have made against Robert Vadra in the worst possible language, please be ready to take it back.
I'll put that to him, but can I ask you one question before I go to him, Mr. Digvijay Singh? Is this another second instance of tit for tat and revenge? First there was revenge because they held up Parliament in your time, you're holding it up in theirs. Now there's this allegation against Sushma because of what they did to Robert Vadra.
Well, as far as disruption of Parliament is concerned, let me also tell you what Mr. Advani had to say.
But you quoted it earlier, sir.
Sometimes blocking legislative action yields results.
Quite right, you quoted it earlier, but I get the feeling this is revenge. Is this revenge for the way they treated, the way they spoke of Robert Vadra?
It did pay dividends to the BJP, obviously. And as far as the other point is concerned, please go through what the BJP and the their friends, the kind of language they have used against Robert Vadra.
Absolutely. Mr. Javadekar, I don't want to repeat what you said about Robert Vadra because I don't want to be party to a libel even by accidental association. But you know and I know exactly how you spoke of him. In fact, the truth could be that many of the things were said by you because in those days you were perhaps the chief spokesperson of your party and the one who made these comments. Do you see now how your tactics against Vadra are being used against you when Sushma Swaraj, your colleague, happens to be the victim? In a sense, once again, haven't you set the precedent for this low form of rhetoric and behavior?
I have two comments to make. First, the new script writer of Rahul Gandhi is failing him every day because every day he gets ridiculed all over the country because the new script writer gives him two sentences which he speaks and then spit and run the strategy which they have adopted is failing them. They are not understanding the issue of Robert Vadra. Let me clarify. I have heard whatever the people said Damar. So if it is very insulting, I don't know. And हम तो कहते थे कि भाई आपने दामाद को जो 8 करोड़ का 3 महीने में 58 करोड़ रुपए होने का जो फॉर्मूला दिया, ऐसा फॉर्मूला देश के सभी नौजवानों को दे दो.
You're sterilizing your language because even you are embarrassed to repeat what your party would say. Let's leave it there. I don't wish to bring that up again because, as I said, I don't wish to be even accidentally a party to the libel that your party was itself spreading about Vadra earlier on.
But I also, gentlemen, we never used such language.
Maybe not you personally. The party, your party did. You know it. Your smile gives it away. Let's, gentlemen, now move beyond Sushma to the legislation that suffered, because the second casualty of the session and the standoff is that critical legislation isn't happening. Mr. Digvijay Singh, GST, and you know this better because GST was a Congress idea originally, could add 1.5% to GDP growth. It could make an enormous difference to the lives of ordinary poor Indians. Instead, Now your standoff ensures that it will not roll out on the 1st of April 2016. It's been delayed perhaps by a whole year. And when Indians turn around and say to you that Congress has put its party politics ahead of the nation's interests, what answer do you give the country?
Karan, didn't you hear Mr. Arun Jaitley say that why is Congress party opposing this? Because it's almost the same which Congress party brought in 2006-2007. My question to Mr. Arun Jaitley and the BJP and Mr. Javadekar is, why did they oppose the GST bill in 2006-2007, and why they did not allow the GST bill to be passed from 2007 to 2014? 7 long years.
This is the third instance of revenge. Is this all revenge-based politics?
We have not never.
I have not completed. I have not completed.
No, it was.
I have not completed.
Karan.
If in these last 7 years, if they had agreed, the GST would have been in operation from 2008 onwards. That means 7 long years have been lost because
are you going to delay it by 7 years
opposition
more?
Of the BJP NDA.
Mr. Digvijay Singh, I fail to understand the logic of what you are doing. Just because they did it to you doesn't mean you have to do it to them, unless you want the country to suffer while you carry on your politics.
If the select committee on GST, we have given us 5 points. For example, why should alcohol and petroleum be outside the GST domain? It should be within the GST. But there are 5 other things.
Raise those issues at the floor of the House. Don't hold up Parliament over them. Don't let Parliament suffer.
We are prepared to discuss. We are prepared to discuss. We are prepared to discuss.
So hang on, you're saying something very important. You are prepared for Parliament to function to discuss GST during this monsoon session itself? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the point I'm trying to make is the dissenting note of in the select committee, those have to be addressed first.
But they can only be addressed if Parliament functions. So will you let Parliament function on Monday?
No. Discussion can take place outside the Rajya Sabha also. The finance minister can call the leader of the
House. Outside Parliament. What's the purpose of that building?
No, let me finish. Always, you know, the legislation is always discussed with back channels contacts also. Why should the finance minister not
let me take up that point. Mr. Javadekar, many people believe that in this present situation where there is an impasse between the two sides, it's the government's responsibility to reach out, because at the end of the day, it's the government's responsibility to ensure that legislation happens. Now, Jyotiraditya Scindia, the Chief Whip of Congress, is on every front page today saying that during the last 5 days, absolutely no one from the government has made any effort whatsoever to reach out to Congress. And if he's correct, I put it to you, this is irresponsibility on the part of the government. You should have been reaching out desperately to ensure that Parliament functions, yet instead you're not. You're sulking yourselves.
Let me tell you, Karan, even yesterday night, till night, government always reached out to opposition, and I cannot reveal the private dialogues, but the senior leaders of Congress were so frustrated by their leadership, and so they were not, because they were actually agreeing with us. The issue is very simple. We reached out and they backed out. That is first. Second, the funniest language I am listening now,
is
that we can discuss bill outside.
Can I ask you this?
What will happen?
You claim you reached out last night. Who did you reach out to?
We gave them many ideas of how even on Friday we can revoke the suspension and how we can start.
Then share these ideas with the country.
But they refused.
What were the ideas you gave them to break this deadlock today, and who were the people you gave these ideas to? Tell me both those things.
To all possible people, and Digvijay knows it, and many leaders know it.
But name them.
As a
Don't hide their names from the country. Shame them. Name them and shame them.
Night. Even today morning.
Why don't you name and shame these people?
They did it, but they did not respond to it. That's the issue. They said we cannot participate. So that's the only answer.
Why are you hesitating, Mr. Javadekar, to name these people? Name and shame them. Let the country identify them as the people who are obstructing Parliament. Name them.
They don't want, because what was difference was, in Congress regime, there was no unanimity. now there is complete unanimity in the states also. And select committee report has to be discussed by Parliament.
Yes, but you're not naming the people you claim you reached out to. You're not naming the people to whom you claim you gave clever ideas so Parliament could function today, which it didn't.
Digvijay ji knows.
Mr. Digvijay Singh?
No, I don't. It's the Karan, BJP and RSS activists like Prakash Javadekar are masters in spreading the disinformation campaign.
So are you suggesting he's lying on TV tonight?
Absolutely lying.
Mr. Javadekar, have you lied?
Lie.
How?
But Mr. Digvijay Singh just says absolutely lied.
You can just call Venkaiah Naidu and he will tell you all the names and everything. Karan.
Gentlemen, let me put it like this. You know,
absolute lie, no one has spoken to me.
Let me put it like this, gentlemen. Beyond Sushma Swaraj, beyond GST, beyond all the legislation, do you know the amount of time that's been lost during this session? According to PRS research, 92% of the Rajya Sabha has been lost, just over 60% of the Lok Sabha, and the reason the Lok Sabha is better is because for the last 4 days it's functioned. Digvijay ji, I want to put this to you. Parliament costs 2.5 lakhs a minute, that's 9 crore a day. Already we've lost over 100 crore. That money could have been used for health, education, water, even food for the poor.
Absolutely.
Does your party not have a guilty complex that in a poor country where money is needed for other things, it's being wasted because MPs are quarreling over procedure, over who should be the one to give in, over issues of pride and perhaps prejudice?
I am quoting Sushma Swaraj ji. When Parliament ends this way, there is criticism. We are told there is loss since the Parliament wasn't allowed to function. In 2G, this was the case, but when we look back, licenses are sold for 1600 crores, now being sold for a base price which will face the exchequer so much. Losing 10 to 20 crores from loss of Parliament proceeding, if we can build pressure on the government, then that is acceptable. This is our statement.
So you accept Sushma Swaraj's logic today? In which case, if you do, why don't you make her your party leader? Because in every way now, you're accepting what the BJP did earlier. This is the fourth time you're citing BJP as the precedent to follow.
I'm just trying to remind them what they had said. I'm just reminding them what they had said.
Mr. Javadekar, let me make a simple point to you, not made by politicians, but made by many people who are ordinary Indians. They say this entire impact on legislation, the entire logjam in Parliament could have been broken if the Prime Minister had stood up and spoken. And all he had to say was that I, Narendra Modi, accept that the BJP made a mistake when it disturbed the Lok Sabha during the UPA years, and then from that moral high ground, appeal to Congress, please don't repeat the mistake we made. The Prime Minister would have reached a moral high point because he'd accepted something wrong had happened in the past, and it would have been very difficult for Congress to insist on repeating the same mistake thereafter. You would have won hands down if you'd done that. Why did he not stoop to conquer?
Karan, you have given this suggestion umpteen times. It's good that you have coined it, and it's good formulation. The issue is, we say that debate in Parliament and Prime Minister will intervene. Why they are not ready to listen to him? Because they don't want to listen to him. They don't want state to go ahead. They don't want country to flourish. They want to disturb the momentum we have got. And the investors' confidence they want to again shaken. When they were in power, they blocked it through Environment Ministry and with their tactics and antics. And now they are blocking it through blockade.
Digvijay ji, your hand was going up. Go ahead. You want to reply to that specific accusation?
Karan, I just want to ask Javadekar ji. When the GST Constitution Bill was being discussed in the Parliament in Lok Sabha, where was Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister? He was not there. He was missing. If he was so keen on GST, he should have been there in the Lok Sabha. Where was he?
But tell me something.
Why is he keeping quiet?
Can I ask you something, Mr.
But that is the style of functioning.
If the Prime Minister had been sitting in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, would you have permitted a discussion? Are you really saying
that that's the point I'm trying to make is, if Mr. Prime Minister is so concerned and serious about GST, he should have been there in the Parliament that day. Where was he?
So in other words, you're now twisting the scales and suggesting that the reason why Parliament didn't even take up GST is because the Prime Minister was absent. Have I understood correctly?
He's not serious. He's not serious about legislative business. You just see his track record in Gujarat.
No,
how many debates he's answered. How many times he has thrown out his opposition out in the Gujarat Assembly?
Go ahead, Mr. Javadekar, answer.
How many times he has thrown out opposition in the Gujarat Assembly?
Answer, Mr. Javadekar. It's your Prime Minister that's being spoken about.
Congress, Rajiv Gandhi in 89 threw 63 Lok Sabha members out of Parliament in one day. Why? Because they were demanding that Justice Thakkar report on Indira Gandhi's assassination should be put on table. And therefore, let me also tell them, in last term, they suspended their own MPs and sent them outside the on Andhra and Telangana. So they suspended their own MPs. Other MPs, they marshaled out Samajwadi
one
Party
simple
MPs.
question to you,
they did
because
everything.
we're coming to the end of the show. Let's pull back from the tu-tu meme. I want to put to you something, Mr. Digvijay Singh, and then I'll put the same thing to Mr. Javadekar, that many Indians who are not politicians believe perhaps is the solution to the prolonged standoff we've seen. And it's a simple thing. It was a sentiment expressed by Mr. Mahesh Sharma, the Tourism and Culture Minister, but many Indians agree with it. Why should Parliament not enforce a no work, no pay policy? First you, Mr. Digvijay Singh.
Well, as far as we are concerned, we have been attending the Parliament from day one. And therefore, we are not doing anything else. Now, it is also responsibility of the government to make the House run. They have to sit down with the opposition parties to resolve issues. Why don't they sit down with the opposition party and leader of opposition to resolve these issues? Why are they not holding Mrs. Sushma Swaraj accountable? Why Mrs. Vasundhara Sindhya not accountable? Why Shivraj Singh Chauhan not accountable?
You discuss.
We need an answer from them.
Mr. Javadekar, is there any possibility that over the weekend you could take a meaningful step to reach out to the opposition and ensure that next week, even if it's only for 4 days, Parliament functions? Is there any meaningful step you have in mind?
See, we will try till the last. And I am eternal optimist. I hope that this weekend collective wisdom will prevail in Congress. And they will come out of their boycott and come out of their protesting tactics, and they will participate.
Do you have a credible step in mind, or is this just expression of pious hope?
We have suffered.
Do you actually have a credible step in mind that can effectively ensure Parliament functions?
We are in constant dialogue, but they are not coming forward. As I said, we are reaching out, they are backing out. That's the problem.
But you won't tell me cleverly enough who you're reaching out to and who's snubbing you. Why are you protecting those people? As I said, name them and shame them. Why don't you take that step?
Both the leader of opposition know.
But
till yesterday night, what has happened, what was the dialogue made. But it is not good, Karan. It is not good.
May I ask a question?
What everybody says.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead, Mr. Digvijay Singh. Very quickly. We've got only 10 seconds.
Would Mr. Javadekar tell us, has Mr. Narendra Modi ever reached to either Mallikarjun Kharge or Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad?
What's the answer? Very quickly, Mr. Javadekar.
No, it is the Parliamentary Affairs Minister who is holding talks. Others are also speaking.
All right.
And Modi ji on Naga Accord has reached out to all leaders.
All right. One way or another, that is going to have to be an answer to the question. Mr. Digvijay Singh is smiling. He's obviously got a bit of mischief up his sleeve. He thinks that he's got the answer he wants, but he won't reveal the purpose behind it. We're going to have to leave it there. My thanks to both of you gentlemen for joining me for this debate. Let's hope Parliament does function next week. You have been. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.